Good evening. Like to call we're already in August, the August 15th, 2024 Smyrna Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Tonight, we've got a couple of things on the agenda, but we'll go through our agenda first. Let's start with our prayer and our pledge of allegiance. If you will, please stand. Prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve our community tonight. Please give us the wisdom, discernment to make the best decisions for our residents and our town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very harmonic.
Yes. I like it. Thank you very much. Number 3 on our agenda is citizens' comments. We have several on the agenda tonight. The way that Board of Zoning Appeals is a little different than some of our other boards. The items that we're discussing are always public hearings. So even if you're not on the comment section and you would like to speak, you still will be allowed to speak under public hearing when we get to that section. You certainly have the right to speak under both if you're already on the agenda, but there's no need to if you're just going to say the same thing twice, right? So feel free. So I'm going to call these. They're not any particular order. They're just in the order that I have them on my sheet. So when I call your name, if you'll come up to the microphone, state your name and address and whether or not you're in the city limits, and then you'll have 3 minutes. We'll keep a time on that and let you know when you get to your 3-minute mark if you will kindly finish the sentence that you're in and take your seat. I appreciate it. Number 1 on our list is Mark Corrigan.
Mark? Yes, my name is Mark Corrigan. Address is 114 Lakewood Circle, Smyrna, Tennessee, 37167.
City limits.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, George Young subdivision.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. It says you want to speak in opposition?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought.
No, you
This
go
is the first
ahead.
I've ever done this. You'll have to
That's
bear
all
with me. I'm a little, probably a little rough around
You just
the
lost
edges.
15 seconds. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll jump right into it. Okay.
Just kidding.
So I've lived about 40 years in the George Young subdivision. My mother's here with me tonight. She's obviously lived a little bit longer there than I have. And you know, we're all here for the same reason, I suppose. You know, this new construction site that's going in is about a quarter mile or so away from her house. And there's many other houses that are surrounding that area. I don't know all the full details of what this business is, how many trucks are involved, how many dumpsters or whatnot. I haven't seen all the details. But I can tell you this, I have driven semi-truck since 2006. I've got over 10 years experience. I've worked in construction for many years. And I don't know if anyone else in this room has as well, but semi-trucks, dump trucks, they're all very loud. Has anyone heard a dump truck get done finishing unloading a load of gravel and that back door slam? Has anyone heard how loud that is? Especially if it's happening over and over and over again. If that's happening in your neighborhood, that's probably going to bring down the appeal of that area, that charm of your neighborhood. It's going to be noisy, it's going to be unpleasant, and there's a lot of other homes that are going to have to basically suffer because of that. Now, as a conservative and a capitalist, I'm all for small business. I certainly have nothing against small business, but, and I love to see small businesses grow. Mike Hollingshead, I know him personally. That's a prime example of a small business that grew from Smyrna. But, you know, there can be appropriate places for that business growth. And I'm not sure if anyone else here would want that in their backyard. That's what's raised much concern for everyone here. And that's why there may be a lot of people here in opposition, some in support, some in opposition of this business being established in our neighborhood. I even have here, if I could play this, just an example.
Sure.
Perhaps I'll face it this way, if y'all can see this.
And I showed you the Nola plaster stuff that's breaking, and nobody seems to care. Nobody cares. You're just destroying your house. Here you go, listen. All day long. All day long. Here we go. Bang! Paul shakes. And then they drive down the little hill in back of our house where our kids used to play. Can't play there anymore. There's a truck just parked right there where kids
Okay.
play right there.
Thank you, Mark, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, next on our comments list is Mary Ann Corrigan. Hi.
I'm no professional. My name is Mary Ann Corrigan. I live at 114 Lakewood Circle, George Young subdivision. I bought my house in 1978, so I've been in that house 46 years. And I've seen a lot of growth in Smyrna. I've gone down Old Jefferson millions of times in the years. That is not a place for a dump. It's all residential back there. Not that it really makes a difference to me, but it is a floodplain. I've seen the water almost as high up as the road in the 46 years I've been there. When I moved in, there were cows, there was a pond. It was a nice piece of property. And all of our homes are back there. We've lived in them all these years, invested our money in them, and we certainly do not want to see a dump at our back door. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list is Michael Hardison.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
One thing, I haven't seen all the plans
Sorry,
in this.
can you start with name, address? and-
Yeah, okay. Michael Hardison,
Yep,
612 Virginia Bell Drive,
okay.
Smyrna.
And that's city limits?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Yeah, I'm about 150 foot from his property line, my back porch to his property line. We really don't want to dump right there in my backyard. Now, we don't know what kind of junk he's gonna have, don't know what kind of construction he's gonna have put in these dumpsters. If he does old style, deconstruction of old houses, whatever, you get asbestos, you get all kinds of hazardous material can get in them dumpsters. Okay, when them dumpsters start leaking, rain on it, whatever, then it goes to the ground. All I see, he's got a rock pad to put the dumpsters on. He should have a concrete containment area. They catch rainwater, whatever. If anything comes out of the dumpsters, he can catch it. Does he have a bond for cleanup if something was to happen? Because you can run into millions of dollars cleaning up land. I mean, I've been in the chemical business all my life, and you spend millions of dollars cleaning land up. I don't know if y'all had any experience with that or not, but it can happen. Do we need EPA to come in and check it? Because if you get asbestos in there, getting asbestos in the air, that's a very dangerous hazardous material. What keeps him from, I know he's got like 10 dumpsters he's wanting to put on there. What keeps him from having, start putting more and more? Y'all said y'all want to make this a permanent thing. Is he gonna keep expanding? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of things I don't know what's going on with it, so. But I'm totally against it. I think there's other places in Smyrna he could do the business at that's set up for dumpsters. You got a place over here off Weekly Lane you can use. But I mean, that's if he needs the business. There's a lot of people out there doing this business, so. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Next on our list is George Kilgore.
I'm George Kilgore and live at 1024 or 1021 Old Jefferson Pike.
I was gonna say, I got a different address.
Go down a little, down the street a little. Tammy and my wife and I have lived there at 1021 for 24 years. So we've seen some growth. We've seen a lot of things going on. You know, the Old Jefferson Pike Young subdivision, it is just one of the greatest places that you want to live. It's an older subdivision with older folks that really stick together and really bond together and really come together in time of need. And now that we've opened up the door to the folks on Florence, there's 35 houses within 0.5 of a mile from the property in question here. 35, think about that just a moment. We're talking, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes. And we've welcomed those folks on Florence in the last 5 to 6 years that those houses have been built. The thing that I guess the biggest concern for me is the storage of these dumpster units. And I know he's probably going to make sure that they're cleaned out before they're stored, and that there won't be any, anything stored in those while they're there. But there's still runoff from them. When it rains, they're going to be runoff, and when you load those things up, that's going to pour onto the surface. And like it's already been mentioned, it's a floodplain with no question about it. Back in the 2010 flood, we saw water back up almost to the barn on that property. One of the great things about the piece of property is it's a haven for a lot of wildlife. Canadian geese come in there and they rear their young on that pond site. The mallard duck come in and they lay their eggs and raise their young. Deer come in and they bed down their young, and while their mothers go out and work the field. And I would certainly hate to see that disturbed. I'd hate to see a runoff trying to contaminate the water going into the Corps of Engineers, then all the way into Percy. So it's one of those things that it's just not the place for it in a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Dan Pope. How you doing, Mr. Pope?
Yes, sir. I'm Dan Pope. I live at 1027 Old Jefferson Pike in the Smyrna city limits. One thing that I'm concerned about is the motor vehicle traffic and parking code 15-124. It says that no person shall drive or park any commercial truck or trailer in excess of 12,000 pounds of gross rated weight upon a street owned and maintained by the town of Smyrna. So therefore, this is going to be heavier than that, no doubt, by the time his truck and the trailer together is put together on that. Also, our streets out there are 95 inches wide, and his trailer is going to be 102 wide from outside fender to outside fender. I've worked up here for about 40 years on trucks and trailers, and that's what they went to, is 102 wide. So safety-wise, coming down that road, it's going to be tight, and that's not a good thing at all. Also, there's a lot of inconsistency in what he says he's going to be doing. He's, what I see here, he's going to start out with a 12-foot trailer, and then he's going to haul 12-foot boxes with that 12-foot trailer. Then over on in his comments here, he was talking about getting some 14-foot trailers. I think he's going to get, total it'll be 14 trailers total that he's going to have sitting out there if all of them's there at one time, which I don't think they would be. But anyway, these 14-foot trailers I don't think can be hauled on that 12-foot trailer, but he may get another trailer. And I've worked on these roll-off dumpsters before in my business, and it's hard to haul them on a trailer, a little trailer like he's talking about doing, especially a 14-foot box on a 12-foot trailer. So there's going to be a lot of safety issues going on. And also, on that road, they said that dump trucks go past his house a lot. Well, they did. The town of Smyrna allowed them to bring them dump trucks in while they was doing the road out there, the big road conversion. But the signs are back up now. They've stopped the trucks from coming in there. They no longer can come down that road. No big trucks at all. And the reason is because of that 12,000 pound rule that the town of Smyrna has, that you can't have anything exceeding 12,000 pounds on that road. And the way I understand, they're going to start enforcing that heavily. And he was talking about doing a driveway off Jefferson Pike there. If he does that, he'll have to put in an egress and a degress, because I don't know if y'all seen it, but it's a big drop off there, and he'd have to swing out to turn in, and it's going to be very hazardous to do that also. So in a safety standpoint, it is absolutely not to be done. And like they said, safety as far as environmental, like George is talking about with all the animals and such, and that's no, no. But anyway, I think I'm in objection to him doing this here.
Yeah, thank you. Next person on our list is Jana Pope.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that the painting of the house, the white brick, is beautiful, and I thought that it was a great improvement to our neighborhood.
Can you state your name and your address for me, please?
Jana
Yeah.
Pope, 1027 Old Jefferson Pike.
Right, and that's in city limits.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Pandy Trash Company, really? How does the idea of a trash management company even get entertained in a neighborhood zoned RI? Who's going to enforce the fence suggestions that I read on the proposal? Who's going to enforce the number of trash containers permitted to store on the property? Who's going to enforce the number of truck deliveries on these trash containers on a street that already prohibits commercial trucks, except for the temporary city construction on Jefferson Pike? Who's going to enforce the adverse effects on the environment from trash containers, including aesthetics, smells, and pests? Who is going to enforce a trash company on our residential zone street that affect the value of our properties? How is that going to affect the value of our properties that we work so hard, all of us work so hard to maintain and improve? This does not even cover all the questions that arise from commercial trash business set on said floodplain that we have all seen flood. I understand this is left up to the city's discretion according to FEMA. Please, do not let this misfortunate application pass. We love our beautiful neighborhood.
Thank you. Next person on our list is Melinda Potts. Hello.
Hi, my name is Melinda Potts. I live at 1020 Old Jefferson Pike in the city limits. I've lived in the Old Jefferson Pike area pretty much all my life, which is a good many years. My concern with the dumpster business going in, and I can understand why the owner of the property would like to have some kind of side income coming in to help out with the cost of everything these days. But I don't think dumpsters are necessary in a residential neighborhood. And if you look at the code, city code 4.040 for R1 residential, number 1 shall be no exterior display or storage of materials for a customary home business. This home is at the entrance to the whole neighborhood, and it kind of sets the tone for what you're getting ready to see, which is an older neighborhood that's been very well maintained and people love their homes. One other thing that I have learned over the last couple of months is the exemption, if you approve it, it stays with that property for life. It's registered with the state with your deed. Therefore, if the current owner decides to sell the property, and he may have maintained his business perfectly, who comes in has still got that exemption, and no telling what we could have. We could have another auto salvage like we had years ago up there. And so for that standpoint, I do not support this business going in. You have no control over the future once you give the exemption. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person on our list is Mark Wells.
My name is Mark Wells. I live at 105 Young Drive. I've been there 33 years. I agree with everything that's been said. I'm going to tell you, I worked for the city for 20 years. I work for the street department. I had to take stormwater classes, and I had to pass certain things to do work in stormwater. And I had to know what I could and could not do. So I called TDEC. Now TDEC, their office used to be in Nashville, now it's in Pulaski. TDEC has told me that if y'all pass this, this individual has to go through TDEC because that's considered wetlands, because it stays flooded 3 to 6 months out of the year. They have to go through TDEC, and they've got to come out and see what he has to do to keep it from getting into the land, going over and contaminating the core property, which it drops, that water drops off into the lake, okay? And he also told me that I could contact the Corps of Engineers because they're going to want to know what's going on with this piece of property because of the wetlands. And it stays flooded at least 3, if not 6. It might even be longer than that. Right now, it's very rare it's this dry. The pond's even dried up. But my concern is the environment. That's where we get our drinking water out of that lake, let alone what it's going to do to the animals. And that's why I've been there 33 years. And I would hope that you would say no. But if y'all do say yes, you need to make sure, because if you don't, I'm going to, that he goes through TDEC and he gets a hold of the Corps of Engineers and lets him know what he's doing out there. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. All right. Moving on into our agenda. We have the approval of our minutes from our June 13th meeting. Those are in your packet, should be in order. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Any adjustments or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented,
I'll second.
and a second. You got both of those? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes have been approved. We have 2 items for new business tonight. The first one is special exception for Mr. William Shackelford at 890 Old Jefferson Pike. You're not Mitch.
I'm not Mitch.
Kevin.
I'm not. No, Mitch is on vacation this week. You all have the B team.
I didn't know we gave him vacations.
Yes, this is a request, 890 Old Jefferson Pike. William Shackelford is the property owner there, and he is the one making the request. The request is for a special exception to allow an in-home occupation there at that address. He wants to operate a roll-off dumpster business. He is the sole employee. As a part of this business, he would have 6 14-foot long dumpsters, and then, well, I think 2. He's looking at 2. They're a little larger, or a little smaller rather. And then he has, they're for construction, junk and fill dirt, that would be stored here at this site when they're not on the job site. They would be located on a gravel pad behind the barn. After operation of the business for several months, he would like to purchase 2 additional dumpsters, so make a total of 10. It's expected to be, he estimated to be 5 at a time, maybe on site at any one time, but obviously that could fluctuate. Per the applicant, deliveries to and from the residence would only occur twice per day, once in the morning and evening, while he goes to and from his work, his full-time job. To deliver the dumpsters, he would utilize his own vehicle. He does work for the Air National Guard and does have periods of leave, and during that time, his father would operate the business for him, who lives also several doors down from him. So he would not, he would be the only person operating the business other than the applicant. That property is approximately 9.41 acres. Majority of the land is located within the 500-year and 100-year floodplain. It is at the corner of Old Jefferson Pike and Florence Road. There is quite a bit of vegetation on the property, which would aid in hiding the dumpsters as far as visibility. And he did propose that he would be willing to install a privacy fence if the board chooses to approve the request and would like to add that as a condition, he would certainly be willing to do that, so. Section 7.060B does dictate some general requirements that the board needs to look at when you're authorizing a special exception. So I'll go through those 4, and then there's some additional requirements after that as well. 1, that it's so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Staff just found it could negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare due to the size. The size of the lot and the property does helps the situation, but because of some of the things that were mentioned here tonight, obviously, and some other things, it could negatively affect it as well. Will not adversely affect other property in the area which it's located. Again, the size of the property here does help. This isn't on a small tract of land or something like that, so it does help with this, but it obviously, it may affect obviously the other properties in the surrounding area. Is within the provisions of special exceptions as set forth in the ordinance. Customary incidental home occupations are a permitted right within the municipal zoning ordinance within all residential districts. In the event questions arise regarding the legality of specific ones, the Board of Zoning Appeals determines that. So that's why this one is in front of you tonight. D, does conform to all applicable provisions of the ordinance for the district in which it's located, as well as provisions of 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience in the location plan. Staff does find it may be able to conform to all provisions of those criteria, and we will go through those now. That's our next list of requirements. Next one, number 1, ingress. These are all things you need to consider when you're considering the request that's in front of you. Number 1, ingress and egress to the property and proposed structures thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe. Access to the site would utilize the existing driveway off of Old Jefferson Pike and Florence Road. The applicant has also contacted Public Works and did receive approval for a new driveway location on Old Jefferson Pike, which he would be utilizing for the business if it is approved. Number 2, off-street parking and loading areas were required with particular attention to the items that we just talked about regarding access and control, traffic flow, as well as the economic noise, vibrations, glare, or odor effects of the special exception on or by adjoining properties, or generally in or near the district. Staff does find the lot does provide sufficient space for off-street parking, as the applicant's property does have the 2 driveways, and the dumpsters are located off the driveway elsewhere on the 9.4 acre property. Refuse and service areas. Refuse collection would proceed in the same manner currently. The applicant will need to coordinate the removal of whatever waste is within the dumpster. Obviously, that would assume that would be taken to Middle Point or wherever there. But anything that is, for whatever reason, if there is any waste on that property, we have to coordinate removal of that. Utilities with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. The location does have access to gas and water, but it is served by a septic system and not by public sewer. Screening and buffering. There's not a specific screening or buffering requirement here other than they are proposing the fence if necessary, if you choose to approve it, as well as there is quite a bit of trees and vegetation on the property already that would help to hide this if you, again, choose to approve it. Number 6, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. Those effects, we're not proposing any lighting around this area or anything like that that would harm any surrounding properties in that with any of those issues, and no signage is proposed. Required yard and other open space. This obviously it's 9.4 acre piece of property, so there's plenty of room and with regards to this type of this business or any other use on the property. General compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district. use may not be compatible with those adjacent properties, other lots in the area. There's no other businesses in this immediate area. It's all residential, as been stated earlier tonight. And there's no home occupations that staff is aware of in this area either, that have been approved by the BZA. Number 9 is not applicable in this case, as this is not an upper story residential type request. So in conclusion, staff does find this dot does provide sufficient space for the operation of the applicant's business. As it stated, there is natural vegetation on the property, which does aid preventing kind of visibility. Applicant is the only employee, not be any additional employees coming to and from the residence. It would just be the traffic from, delivering the dumpsters. Staff would make the following recommendations for consideration for you if you were to choose to approve it. We would recommend that the fence be installed around that area where the dumpsters would be located. Dumpsters only stored behind the fence, so and away from view. Applicant to have the waste removed from the dumpsters prior to arriving back at the residence. Applicant's father may operate the business, but no other employees other than those who reside at the residence. And then just, if again, just to add a certain number of, or maximum number to be used or to be stored there would be, I think, whether that's the 10 that they're requesting or some other number. I think that we would recommend that as something that would be appropriate. Again, if you choose to approve. We did take some pictures, so we'll show those. This is basically looking at the house. This is from Old Jefferson Pike, looking at the front of the house. And then this is just another view. This is more at an angle view, looking at the area where towards the property where the dumpsters would be located. This is from Florence Road. This is obviously the house, and this is the front yard of the house. And then this is looking at the property. You can kind of see the barn in the distance there. So you wouldn't really see the dumpsters from this side, but this will give you a view from that. This is the existing driveway off of Florence Road. This is an overhead shot. The pictures I showed you, 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's some little arrows there pointing kind of where those are from. The blue area, just for everyone's information that may or may not know, the blue kind of shaded area is the 100-year floodplain, which again shows that probably 60 to 70% of this property does lie in that 100-year floodplain. The area shaded in yellow is what's called the 500-year floodplain. From a regulatory standpoint, under FEMA requirements, that is really treated the same as if it's not in the floodplain, but they do show that it is a floodplain area, but again, from a structural height or the limitations on the elevations of the buildings or things like that, it does not really get regulated like the 100-year floodplain does. So I think that's all that I have.
Excuse me. Where's the red box?
Yep, I'm sorry, look,
It's on
sir.
the map on your website.
Yeah, just give us a second. When we get to public comments, you'll be able to speak. Just give us just a second.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else, Kevin?
Just to answer that, that is not on this drawing. It is on in your packet there. You do have a drawing that was provided by the applicant that shows the red box. It is shown, I don't think I could see if I can, yeah, the mouse, here it is. It's in this area here, right in here, is where it would be.
Okay. And you said that the blue area is
It's the 100-year floodplain.
100 and the yellow is 500?
The 500-year floodplain, yes.
I would have thought it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I guess the elevation.
Yeah, what FEMA actually would say, it's kind of commonly called 100-year floodplain, 500-year floodplain. How FEMA would actually treat it is, in that area shaded in blue, there's a 1% chance in any given year that could flood. And in the 500-year floodplain, there's a 0.2% chance in any given year it could flood, which statistically is once every 100 years or once every 500 years, but they said it can happen 1% chance in a year. So you can have back-to-back 100-year flood happen or something, that does
Gotcha.
happen sometimes, so.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin before we move forward? I've got one, Kevin. So this type of commercial business, if this was in a commercial zone in town, what commercial zone would this be allowed in?
You would look at something, certainly any of the industrial districts, but also probably the C2 and C5 would be the other two commercial
The
districts.
C5, which is mostly automotive, right?
Well, it's other uses as well as
Yeah.
automotive, yes.
So C2 and
C5.
the
C5,
industrial, light industrial, and regular
Right.
industrial.
right.
Okay. All right, any other questions, anybody? All right, at this time, we will close the Board of Zoning Appeal and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against the request. I saw your hand first, so if you'd like to come up, speak say your name, address, and whether you're in city limits.
Hello,
And
my
you-
name is.
I'm sorry, you'll also have the same 3-minute limitation.
Absolutely. I don't think I'll take that long. My name is Fran Jones. I live at 608 Virginia Bell Drive. I am a city resident, and my husband and I have lived there since 2016. He could not be here tonight. We've had a death in the family, so hence I did not get on the roster with the rest of the neighborhood. I'm here to speak in opposition. If you look at this drawing, I'm right outside the yellow line. I'm that swimming pool. So as you can see from the drawing, my backyard backs up to my neighbors, the Coles. Hi, neighbors. We're here. Hey there. Hi, Leonard. So I'm here to speak in opposition because I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said. My concern is once the exemption is approved, it could be used for commercial businesses in the future. This is a residential area, and we would like to keep it that way, my husband and I. We love the view out our back door. We love to see the animals. I do not want to see dumpsters stored there. I am a liberal, not a conservative, and I am pro-business. My father was a small business owner. I truly think there is a place for small businesses in Smyrna, but I don't think it is in a residential community when their business expands outside of the home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. But one thing, I actually heard a couple people say it, just so we are clear. So the request that's in front of us is not a rezoning request, so the property would still be rezoned residential. It would just have a special exception if it were approved. That would, ma'am, just let us do our job. We're good. I'm just explaining. Special exception would just apply for what it was approved for. So if it were approved as a dumpster business, it could only be a dumpster business in the future. It could not become some other commercial use. It doesn't give it the ability to just be anything in the future. Some of the points that you guys made about making sure that buffering and those things would also still apply. And if someone else came in, he sold the business, sold the property, someone else came in and tried to run the business and didn't maintain those things, they would still have those same requirements. So just so you understand that, it's much like the one that most of you were here for before. He had a special exception for I think it was a
It was a
fence company.
There
It was a fence company. The reason that the new owner couldn't continue to work in that area is because it was only approved for a fence company. It was not approved for a plumbing company. And so if it had been rezoned, then any commercial could have continued there. So just so we're understanding, we're not rezoning the property. It would still be zoned residential. It's just allowing an exception to the zoning ordinance to allow this is what's being requested. Just want that clarification. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? The guy in the back there, sorry, I saw his hand next to you. Yep.
With the cast?
Yep, with the cast. Yep, come on up.
Heard on.
Two cast.
I'm the owner of Trash Bandit LLC. I heard a lot of comments today, and I just wanted to kind of dispel a lot of rumors that I heard, a lot of concerns.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you state your name again? You started that before you got to the microphone,
Sorry.
so folks on TV can't hear you.
I understand. William Shackelford. I am the owner of Trash Bandit
And what's your
LLC.
address?
I live at 890 Old Jefferson Pike, Smyrna,
Okay.
Tennessee. The address listed up there on the on the television.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. First off, I want to apologize for my appearance. I got ran over by an unlicensed driver who ran a red light 2 weeks ago. Got life flighted to Vanderbilt. I'm okay. I'm healing. So, all right. First off, I do live in this property. Me and my wife, we moved in a little, almost 3 years ago now. In the 3 years that we've lived at this property, we've done a lot to improve the property, start maintaining the pasture again. It was very overgrown when we moved in. The vegetation was, oftentimes 10 feet or taller throughout the pasture, full of blackberry weeds, trees, everything else. I started maintaining it. I started, bush hogging it regularly to make it beautiful like it looks today. So I appreciate all the animals that come through. I too love seeing the deer and everything else that comes through the property. And I have just as much interest in maintaining the beauty of my house as you guys, like to see a beautiful house. So I just want to state that up front. Next, as far as the business goes, I'm only pulling these roll-off dumpsters it's a dump style trailer with my 2,500 3/4 ton truck. There's not a semi truck, there's not big heavy equipment coming through. I'm also only moving these dumpsters before work. I work full time with the Air National Guard. I'm a full-time guardsman. That's what I do, and I'm not gonna just quit my job. There's way too many great benefits associated with that job to override Trash Pandy LLC, right? So just once in the morning and then once in the evening when I'm coming home anyways with my 3/4 ton truck, that's when I am leaving and arriving to do business activities. So there's not gonna be constant, tractor trailer noise or dump truck noise associated with it. Next, as far as the actual operations on the property, these roll-off cans, they sit about 5 foot tall. They roll off of the 12-foot trailer that I've ordered for this equipment. I've had, just for my own residential use, a dump trailer parked at this property that I've since sold to fund the purchase of this equipment without complaint. I mean, I've had a 14-foot dump trailer parked that I've used for mulch and helping make my property beautiful. So these cans that I've got, sorry.
Go ahead and you can finish that.
Okay,
sentence.
so these cans that I have, they are 5 foot tall, 14 foot long, 7.5 foot wide. Empty, they will only be stored empty on my property, just for me and my wife's sake, for my neighbor, Leonard and Anita. I've already talked to them, who've kind of given me approval. In the contract for my business, there is no hazardous material allowed. So I'm expecting construction debris, and they'll be only stored empty and clean on my property itself.
Okay, if you will, your time's up, but let me ask a couple of questions since you're the applicant, so that I understand. So you're going to take, I'm assuming on your way to work, you're going to go drop off a dumpster at a construction site, and then whether that dumpster or another dumpster has to come back that night, you're going to go pick up another one and bring it home. How is it getting emptied in the meantime?
So
if it's only going to be empty on your property?
That's a great question. Luckily, where I work for the Air National Guards at the airport, there are 3 transfer sites located within 3 miles of where I work, and I get an hour lunch break every day. So my plan is to pick it up in the morning, during my lunch break, go dump it, ensure it's clean.
Are you talking about the convenience center like at Weekly Lane?
No, sir. So there's American Farms. There's also the site located in Laverne, which is on my way to work. And then there's also the convenience center kind of towards downtown, over towards the river, going down Murfreesboro Pike and Elm Hill, right there. So there's 3 separate locations depending on the type of debris specifically that I can make these dumps happen. American Farms is like a concrete recycling and dirt recycling center. Those are for my concrete and dirt bins specifically. And then the location in Laverne is for construction debris recycling. And then the location off Elm Hill Pike, which is also near my work, is for like general trash. So if anybody does like a garage clean out, has furniture, mattresses, anything like that, that's where that debris gets disposed of. As far as hazardous debris goes, there's no hazardous debris allowed for these dumpsters. And I do have additional fees and in the contract that get charged to the customer to account for cleanup that's necessary, because at that point, I've got to take off work. I've got to do something special with these dumpsters to actually get rid of this now toxic waste, right? Because I don't want my property becoming
Right.
a
Understand.
toxic pit. That's
Okay.
absolutely not the intent.
While we have Mr. Shackelford here, any questions from the board?
Are we allowed to ask him a question?
No, ma'am.
Like, what hours is he gonna be doing
The answer is
that?
no, ma'am.
Time in the morning?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against the request? Sir?
My name's Malcolm Ferguson. I live at 618 Virginia Bell. That map kind of bothers me with that red block. I live at 618. It's second or third house at the end of the straight of Virginia Bell. When I moved here, I wanted to fence the back. I was told no, it's in the floodplain. They didn't say, will we get you a variance? I know sure as I'm standing here, I'm gonna be dead in 100 years. I couldn't have my fence. Again, it's no. So you're allowing him to put a fence, well, and nobody knows, that 100 and 200 year, that's crap. You know that this coming year, you could have an unbelievable flood, right? But anyways, I wasn't allowed to build 60 foot of fence. And like I said, the answer was no. Nobody was rude to me, but the answer was no. So here you are, you're sticking that there, putting the dumpsters there, and then where's the trucks go? What happens when the truck, there's a reason that's called wetland. It's end up being a big mess. The stuff he says about toxic, I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but people don't always tell the truth. The house, all that stuff on the outside, I really doubt that none of that's toxic. All that waste that insulates your house, there's a reason it's on the outside. Anyway, then his hours that he's working, he's a hard-working guy. End of his day might be 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you guys, gals, all made the rules. A guy doing a roof, he's got to be done at 6 o'clock. I don't know what the exact time is. They're not allowed to start before 8 o'clock. He's a hard-working guy. He might be out there 6 o'clock in the morning getting his deliveries made so that he can go do whatever it is he's going to do. The other thing is, excuse me, that I lost my thought. Sorry. I just don't agree with it, and I don't. My issue, if he rolled them up next to his driveway and cut out that land, and you said, oh, maybe we can do that. But the fact, like I said, I can't have the. I'd like it. I don't want you to answer me, but again, it was no, and that's going to be sitting. And the other thing in this paperwork is about expansion. Everything's always the little piece in the beginning, and everything turns into something later. You granted him, okay? He says, life is good. I need 3 more dumpsters. Okay? What's wrong with that? He's got 9 acres. He could put 1,000 dumpsters there. And what's the worst that's gonna happen? One might float. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
I got a question.
Sure.
I haven't seen the other maps.
For the,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, sorry.
No,
They can't
I'll
hear
do
you
it
on
again.
TV, sorry.
Yeah, Mark Corrigan, 114 Lakewood Circle, within the city limits.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the other. Is it okay if I walk over here?
Yeah, they just won't be able to hear you on TV, so.
I'll speak up loud. I haven't seen the other maps. Where's this red box that everyone's talking about? And is this the area right here where the trailers are supposed to be going, or the dumpsters?
No, it's over, it's over in this area
See the
here,
mouse
from
there?
where the mouse is.
So it's in the flood area?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I have lived here, like I said, 40 years. I've been up and down these roads right here more than any other roads in my life. I could drive them blindfolded in an 18-wheeler, no problem. This area right here floods all the time. And it's deep. It's probably at least this deep when it does flood. If I had a dozen jet skis, me and all my buddies could not just be out there tearing up all day. And it's a big area that floods. it's not like a 20-foot by 30-foot area. So there is a lot of water. If there's trailers that are gonna be parked right in here, thing to consider, a lot of homes in this area have asbestos, and we're all familiar with what asbestos is, correct? I think it's over 90% of the homes built past 1980 have asbestos in the insulation in the attic. Most all of them do. If that's going to be part of the waste, yeah, that's a health risk to the wildlife and to the people that are going to be drinking from this water. There's a lot of asbestos siding on homes in this area. I just don't think that this right here is a good area. I've never seen any trucking business operate, or any kind of construction business that deals in waste, have trailers stationed in a flood zone. And I've been doing this, I've been working construction and trucking a long time.
Sure.
Well, if anybody else has seen that, please feel free to share that with us, because I've never seen that, and there's reasons for that.
All right, thank you.
That's the point I want to make. Thank you.
Anyone else? In the back there? That's very sure. I get you, Rhonda. Yeah.
I'm Richard Warren. I live at 129 Young Drive, Smyrna, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
I've been living in this subdivision about 45 years. I moved to Smyrna 45 years ago and went to partners with Frank Johns Jr., who was at that time Vice Mayor of the Smyrna. I appreciate all of you, what y'all do and what you have to accomplish. Last year I found out, and I own R. Warren Construction Company and have for years. We do 90% fire restoration. Last year I found out that I had scarring of the lungs just because I didn't take seriously the asbestos, burnouts and fire and asbestos smoke and all that. So I have 4 to 5 years to live. Now, I want to live in the same subdivision where I raised my family, and all these people do too. They're good neighbors. We don't have any issues, but I can tell you, you need to take seriously the asbestos and smoking, and mold abatement and all that. I'm living proof of what can happen because I didn't take it seriously. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rhonda?
Hi, my name is Rhonda Randolph, and I live at 1123 Old Jefferson Pike in Smyrna. I am in the city limits. And I just wanted to say that our neighborhood is residential. There are no businesses there, and we don't want businesses there. I do wish Mr. Shackelford a successful business, but just not in our neighborhood. And that's why we were here the last time that we were here, for the same reasoning. And also, he did say something that stuck in my brain about having a dumpster at his house. Yes, he has been working on his house, and he has beautified it, and it looks really nice. And that's probably why no one said anything. But we don't want those sitting there all the time for everyone to see, whether you come down Florence or Old Jefferson. Either way, whether there's trees there or neighborhood. So I'd just like to say that I oppose it. I wish him success, but could he not do it in a commercial district, not a residential one?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sure.
My name's Heather Wilson. I live at 115 Lakewood Circle. I apologize for
No, you're
interrupting
fine.
before.
You're fine.
But I don't know what time he's going to be doing this at. And for me, it's an issue because I'm a teacher. I watch the school buses go by in the mornings. We have to be very careful of that. The school buses start super early. Our kids are standing outside waiting for the buses. And the noise that could possibly start earlier than the time that our children actually still need to get up, with the fact that the schools do cause us to get up early. Also, the time of the day at night when he's going to be coming back, and the fact that I do pass that every single day, and anytime it rains, any of you guys could drive by and see how flooded it really is. With the new construction that they're building right now to widen Jefferson Pike, we don't really know how much of that. I mean, before that, it was flooding. Now that they're building the road there, how much more of that water now is going to flow into that area as well? And I'm just concerned about that. I do feel the same way. I think he deserves to have a business. I think anybody that wants to have a business should have a business. I do live inside the city limits, and I think that we should just consider residential to be residential. And that's just my own personal opinion. I want him to be, successful with his life, and I want his family to succeed with what they want, but I also want my family to be secure and safe as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
My name is Leonard Cole, and I live at 10165 Florence Road. I was under the impression that William told me about this new ordeal that he wants to start, and he told me that it would be a clean, and there would be no flies and no mosquitoes and no bad smelling anything over there. That's why my wife and I agreed to support him, But we were under the impression that it would not create any hazard or cause any property value to go down, and that's why we agreed to support this thing. But if it's going to create a problem in the area, then I'm like everyone else. I want the property value to stay high, and I will support it as long as everybody else go along with it. But if they don't, then I won't either. That's it.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? I think we've got everybody. All right, not seeing anyone else, we will close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion and motions. Anybody feel free to start. Okay, I'll start. I can tell you that I've received at least 30, 35, maybe 50 emails and phone calls on this particular topic. I've tried to respond to all of them except for maybe the ones that came in today. I saw some came in I hadn't had time to get to. But I think most of you, I've probably replied back to you or talked to you on the phone, and I appreciate that feedback. I appreciate you guys reaching out. I always welcome it. I want you to communicate because that's how we know what you want. I'm not, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not living in this neighborhood, so it doesn't necessarily directly impact me. So I want to make the decision that impacts you because you're there. Same thing with the applicant. I always encourage you to reach out for any conversations if you're trying to do something, which you have. I will tell you that on the council, one of the things that we have been very cognizant of with the amount of growth that we have in the area, development and construction and traffic is kind of happening everywhere. And so we are having this similar conversation almost daily. And one of the things that we have taken into consideration is how do we manage that growth? And we do that by kind of restricting things to certain areas of the community. There's some people that don't like apartments. There's some people that don't like townhomes. There's some people that don't want a brick house with a 1 acre lot. I know that sounds crazy. My age, that's what we wanted. But I know that younger folks, that's not what they're wanting. So we have to offer areas of the town that fit everyone's needs, not just the need that I want or that one particular person wants. There are cases where we've had situations where there's been R1 residential that is adjacent to a piece of property that has been requested to be zoned C2. And generally, we have not approved those requests because there is no buffering, there is no step down in the severity. C2 is our most, open commercial rating, and R1 is probably our least dense rating. So it's pretty much the two extremes right up next to each other. This community is an R1 community, and as Kevin mentioned, this business by right, without having to be a special exception, would be a C2, a light industrial, or maybe a C5, which is a relatively new zone that you heard me mention is mostly automotive. That's a zone that includes car lots, mechanic work, garages, that kind of thing. So fairly heavy commercial projects. That's the only place in a commercial zone where this would even be allowed. This wouldn't be allowed in an area that was for a doctor's office or a dentist office or maybe even lower, low traffic commercial areas. So my biggest concern with this is that this is not just that it's a commercial use in a residential, but that it's too commercial for a residential area. I don't personally think that this is appropriate in a residential zone. I agree with most of you that have said there are other areas in town where this would fit. I understand that property probably costs a lot more money. It's a lot less, I guess, the barriers of entry are a little harder for those, and I get that. But that's my personal opinion. I don't feel that this fits in a residential area. It's just too commercial.
It's industrial looking
It is.
from an outside look. I mean, in that area, if you look at Google Maps, there's several businesses in that neighborhood, but they're all in the house. You know, and I say several, there's 2 or 3, just based off of an overview. They're all in the house and hidden. They're not industrial looking. They're not, you know, causing traffic. If there is a traffic issue, they're not, you know, no hazard issues.
Right.
The industrial look is the look and feel of it, and next to a house, and we've had some of these come up in the past with the industrial look, and had similar conversations.
I think the hours is also a concern. I didn't get what hours you work, and I don't know that it really matters. I'm assuming it's a regular 7 to 4, 8 to 5 kind of job. But based on your description, Mr. Shackelford, sounds like it must be in Nashville where you work, because you said Elm Hill was near your area, near your work. So I'm assuming you're going to have to leave your house by 6 a.m. or so to be able to drop off a dumpster. You can come back up if y'all are okay with that. Come on back up. I'm assuming that you would have to leave 6 a.m., load up maybe the night before, whatever, but you would have to leave pretty early to get it dropped off before work.
Yeah, currently I leave my house every day at 6 a.m., sometimes 5:30, and I would leave at the same time for this as I would.
What time do you usually get off work?
I get off work at 3:30 every day, and then I would do a drop off and then return to my home.
So probably 5 to 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
at the earliest.
between 4:30 to 5:30, I'd come back home.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, so 6 a.m., 6 p.m., that seems to be the times, you know, to several people's points. That's kind of beyond what we normally allow, even construction activity. So, any other opinions, comments before there's a motion? Do we have a motion?
Go ahead.
Can I say something before I make?
Sure. You can do whatever you want, yeah.
Well, I just want to say this before I make the motion too, that I am a firm believer in small business, support it wholeheartedly, have put lots of blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah, you can go ahead and tell them what your affiliation is.
I've been a member of SIMA, worked on the board. We push shopping local, making sure everybody knows just how much of a difference that makes in our town. So that being said, due to the nature of this business, I'm going to motion that we not approve.
A motion to deny the request. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the request. All those in favor of a denial, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The request has been denied. For those of you that are here, if you would like to leave, you certainly can. We have one more item for our agenda. You can stay for that if you would like. But next item on our agenda is our setback variance.
It's good seeing you.
We'll give it a second. Thank you.
We're still on.
Thank you. All right, we'll go on to, excuse me. I can't get a word in.
You might as well give it a moment.
Yeah.
Please,
Hello.
please exit. We have one more agenda. We have one more item. We still have a meeting. We still have a meeting. I got soccer practice 5 minutes ago.
Fellas, how's it going?
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is setback variance for Gail Eskew. It's 201 Spirit Hill Circle. Kevin?
Yeah, this is a request. It's 201 Spirit Hill Circle. It's at the corner of Spirit Hill Circle and St. Francis Avenue. It's in an R3 single-family residential zoning district. The applicant has requested an 11-foot 6-inch front setback variance on St. Francis Avenue for a pool. The property is, as I said, is zoned R3. Is about 3/10 of an acre in size, has 2 front setbacks to meet, which are on Spirit Hill Circle and St. Francis Avenue. The minimum front yard setback requirement in R3 is 35 feet. There is a 10-foot public utility and drainage easement on the rear property line, but it's not proposed to be encroached on, so it's not really affecting the placement of this pool. Applicant is requesting to place a pool behind an existing fence, so as to be out of sight from the public right-of-way. There was an action by the Board of Zoning Appeals back in 2006, and this is regarding to the house itself for a 0.9 foot front setback variance on St. Francis Avenue. It was approved back in 2006 during the initial construction of the dwelling. There are several standards for variances that the board needs to consider when you're considering the request, and so I want to go through those. The particular physical surroundings, shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved, which would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience. If the strict application of the ordinance were carried out, staff does find the property does not have any unique circumstances in regard to physical surroundings, shape, or topographic conditions. The conditions upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property. This property is a corner lot, does have 2 front setbacks to meet for any structure. The 2 front setbacks do create a constricted area for any structures to be placed in the rear yard. There is a 10-foot PUD on the rear lot line as well. Variance will not authorize activities in the zoning district other than those permitted by the ordinance. Pools are allowed within the R3 district, so they are to adhere to all setback requirements, but the use is certainly an allowed use. Financial returns only shall not be considered as the basis, and they have not identified financial returns as a reason. Number 5, the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having interest in the property after the effective date of the ordinance. Applicant is a homeowner, but was not involved with the creation of the lot nor the construction of the residence. Number 6, the granting of the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that's denied by the ordinance to other land, structures, or buildings in the same districts. Staff finds the variance could provide the applicant with special privileges denied by the ordinance to other lands due to a structure encroaching upon our front setback. However, other properties in the same zoning district in the same similar situations have requested variances from the BZA in previous years and did receive approval. Number 7, the variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Staff does find the requested setback may be the minimum to make reasonable use of this structure for the proposed use, to keep adequate distances between the pool and the fence, deck, and house. Number 8, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. Staff does find the variance should not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. Number 9, the proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, increase congestion in public streets, increase danger of fire, public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values. Staff finds the variance would not have any of those effects. Number 10 is not applicable in this case. So in conclusion, staff just finds that this property is a corner lot in which 2 front setbacks are required to be met for any structure. There is an existing fence, which the structure would be located behind, and no encroachment upon the drainage easement is shown. Do have a couple pictures. This is the property in question. This is looking at the property from St. Francis Avenue. As you can see, the fence that's already there in place, and it would be behind that fence is where the pool is proposed to be located. And then this is just, excuse me, the property. This is also in St. Francis, but looking at it kind of from the corner, and you can see the front of the house there. And again, you can see the white fence that's already in place. And this is just an overhead shot, and so you can see the kind of that fenced area. That the fence is also not within the drainage easement. That drainage easement would be kind of behind or in between that fence and the neighbor's fence there. That's where that drainage is. So that's all we got.
Perfect. Kevin, any calls from any of the neighbors?
We have had a couple calls, kind of questioning what it is with the sign being put up. We've not had, no one's expressed any opposition to it though.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for Kevin? All right, at this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing. If you'd like to speak for or against this request.
I'm the homeowner.
Yeah, if you would like to speak, you can come to the microphone. It's completely optional. If you will, state your name and address for the record, please, and that you're in city limits.
I'm Gail Eskew. I live at 201 Spirit Hill Circle in the city limits, and I've requested the variance. Unfortunately, when I purchased the property, I didn't realize I had 2 front yards. So learn something new every day. But I would love to have the pool. I'm at the point where if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's not meant to be. So I will be happy either way. So I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Any questions?
Anybody
No?
else?
Anybody else? No? There's only a couple more people in the room. Okay. All right, this time.
you should have it.
We'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and reopen the, close the public hearing, reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion and a motion. There's a couple things here that's obvious. First of all, we have consistently had these type of requests where there's 35-foot setbacks on 2 sides of the house, and it does create a situation where there's a very small place to put anything. And we have consistently approved these in the past because of that. It is a hardship that you didn't create, and it is, I think number 7 is the listing. It's the variance is the minimum to make reasonable use of the structure proposed. For that reason, I'll make a motion that we approve this request.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff comments or any other business?
Don't have anything else?
Nope. All right. In that case, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
When's the pool party?
Next year.
Next year.